Okay. All right. Well, on a good way to joke was so what I see is starting. Because it does really you just go in a budget in the star or not running. That you know what I'll do. Going to guess it. Thought us a tank of Graco done. Net in the stars in Hunzage. Done a Guego Scott Naganumwe. That you know what I'll do. A Guags in me. Ganyat the Gerdo done a Guego. A Guego or Quadzade or no Quasuma. Det är nog där du jättesåta gunhan då the headstone är going to go ready that how quick. Jag kan igen ha tam dawe aron headstone because it's stasser and the lunga. Tam dawe aron headstone asat ni got där again kanyaga haga. Da dinyato då nata roni down or this kare down tam dawe aron headstone go on a gordon or go on a rest of that go on. Years ago, we Kanienkeha Class. Would I say that? Why again?
What's that?
Would I say years ago, we Kanienkeha Class?
Yodian.
Okay. So as everybody knows that whenever we get together for anything of importance, meeting, council, ceremony, that we always have to begin with a Honda Gadi first. This is where we identify and give thanks to the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. Now, these are very simple words, very easy for everybody to understand. But when we identify the things that have created us and what we need to continue to sustain us, this obviously isn't balanced out in people's minds as to have an understanding as to what we got to do and then what we actually do. That there's a difference in those things. That there's a difference in people who have, or there's a difference when people have a certain perception of themselves, and then of course what their actual behavior is. Tonight we're addressing a problem that exists within non-native society as to, on a daily basis, people just don't even think as to what is their way, how are they living, what is it that they're doing collectively, what's their impact in the world. Everybody knows right now that people are looking at a carbon footprint, and they're measuring right down to an individual's carbon footprint. And this is only looking at one part of the problem that is plaguing all of us. Yes, everybody has a carbon footprint, and that's what the pollution that they leave behind them in the world. But that's a backwards looking perception, a carbon footprint, because you're not looking at everything else that is done or has to be done to lead up to having such a negative carbon footprint. There's a lot of false beliefs that the person has to have, false perceptions that they have to have about themselves in order to allow themselves to continue to have that carbon footprint. Anyways, what we're talking about tonight is the issue of the so-called residential schools, the British Nazi concentration camps that they called residential schools, and the horrors that they inflicted upon children. Now, whether you want to look at it as native children or just children, I would say the best way to look at this as just children, not to isolate it to native children or to this children or that one because it actually did happen to them. Just look at it as something that happened to children, and then to see if in your own mind, if you can balance that out, what has happened to children, what was done to children, and then what the perception that the people project, or what their own image that they project of themselves, like supposedly, not supposedly, but here in so-called Canada, always hear every so-called prime minister always identifying that they are a country of laws, that they're people of law. Of course, this is an outright bald-faced lie for any so-called prime minister to ever claim here in so-called Canada, which is still an active genociding colonial entity. They cannot claim in any way, to be fair or just or good people. So this is what we're addressing. Some of you know have seen this sign that we created last week and that we had posted on our Facebook page. We're going to be doing a couple of different photo shoots with this sign in different places. Right now, I put a call out asking for life-size dolls, child life-size dolls, and we're gonna go do a photo that ran away and who froze it.
Longhouse is frozen and muted.
Okay, so I don't know where it cut out, but anyways, this is the text that Wireguard is working on now. What's the Kanienkeha class going to be tonight? But as I was saying, is that we're going to use this sign to do a couple of different photo shoots. We'll make some different, like part of the campaign of truth, we'll make some different posters in different places. I just asked put a call out if anybody has any child life-size dolls, and we're going to go on the railroad tracks and put that doll in on the railroad tracks with that sign behind and with snow covered a bit to reenact and depict the children who actually, in real life, actually froze to death trying to escape the horrors, the terrors that the non-native were inflicting upon children. This sign is going to be used, like I said, in a few different shoots. We're going to do it in front of the church also. Go out into different places to utilize it. So this is what the Kanienkeha class is going to be tonight. Wireguard is working on the whole thing right now, right? It's not like just.
Well, we're going little by little. Yeah. We can start. We already have some.
Well, wait, Wireguard, would you rather finish the whole thing and then we get into it, or?
Yeah, well, I'm almost done.
Okay, all right, we're gonna wait until then. Okay, until then, if is Janet with us tonight?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Kill some time if there's anything anybody wants to share about anything since you've been involved in the Kanienkeha classes. If whether it's been learning language or say just an epiphany and that, anything anybody want to throw out there about the Kanienkeha classes? Okay, I'll just say then I noticed, and I'm pretty sure everybody noticed. The other day we were at Wireguard's place and we're talking about how everybody in the Kanienkeha classes are getting along a lot more easily in reading off big, hard, complicated words. You know, if we look at ourselves, say a year ago, myself, I know, like looking at these big giant words, my eyes get all buggy, and it's hard for me to put those syllables or get them proper anyways, you know. Anyways, I've been noticing it more in myself, able to read it more freely. able to say it more freely, and noticing this of others also, of different in the Kanienkeha class. So there's that anyways, that we know that things have been improving on that level. Anyways, it was just an observation of mine that I had. I don't know if anybody has anything to say. There you go.
Good.
What's going on over here? Oh, somebody said to me, as a real result of this sign, where I say there are 0 police investigations. Some people said, well, what are they're digging up all these graves? They're saying that this is an investigation. People may think that this is type of official Canadian government uncovering of mass graves. No, it isn't. This is not on that level at all. It is not on an official level, not anything that is even when you think of, if you found mass graves anywhere else in the world, knowing that they're not reported, and it's like in the same type of setting as a supposed school being happening to children, anywhere else in the world, it would be treated as a crime scene. So here, people may think that there's investigations. No, there isn't. There is no police investigations. There's nothing like that happening on any level. The non-native, the Canadian government will never do that. They can't do that. How could they investigate themselves for kidnapping, rape, and murder? It's all factual. Everybody knows it's factual. So if they investigated themselves, it would be an implosion. So it's just something that that they would never do. So for the 2 people that did mention it to me, and if you are out there, anybody thinking that there's investigations into these things, forget it. Get it out of your mind. That's not so. It's just not happening. You're never going to see a police investigation into what happened to our children, because it's the police that did it. It's the police that kidnapped our children. It's the police that killed and beat up the fathers that resisted. It's the police, the politicians, the church, the priests and nuns that inflicted all of this. So none of them are ever gonna be involved in an investigation into their own actions. Okay, are we anywhere near it? Can we start displaying some of it at least?
Good, it's 10.
Oh,
Yeah, I was doing the formatting.
Okay, read it. That first word, Kanienkeha, T-O-N. Put T-O-N after the A. Okay, Chutiadungokte. So I would put
Right there, right at the dun.
okay, Chutiagung Gokte. Exa Ogun Ungwe Hunwe Ungwe. Okay, Wahunwana Tkatwe. Wahunwa no Kwate. Okay, next.
No, it's not. How'd you say it? Notkawe?
Yeah, not Tkatwe.
Okay, put it one between the A and the W.
Okay, Gia. Dadayung Kanatra Negwadi. And we could just go up to there.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go read it backwards. Negwadi, Ganada. I'll read it the other way. Okay. Tio Yadun Jotiadun Gokte, Exa Ogun, Ungwehunwe, Wahuanotkawe, Gia Tadayun, Ganada Negwadi.
Johiado Gokte, Exa Ogun, Ungwehunwe, Wahunwa Notkawe, Gia Dayo,
Yeah.
Ganada Negwadi.
Yatun Gupte, Exa Ogunha, Ungwe, Wahumwanukawe, Tieya Tatayon, Ganata Negwadi.
Tio ya dun kokte, exa ogun unwe, wahunwana towe, se ya dayon ganata newadi.
Merrick,
Tiohiatun Grote, Hexagon A, Onkwehunwe, Wahunwan Noktawe, Sia Dayon, Sia Dayon, Kanata Negwati.
Jesus.
huh? It's your turn.
Okay. So, Joñado, Gogde Exagua, Ongwe, Walwa, Nonkawe, ella, ella Tadayu, Canada Negwadi.
Arrow,
Tio hiatu kokte, exa agoa, ongwe honwe, wahonwa, no kawe, chie ya tata yon, ganata negwate.
Sioyatu Gokte, Exa Ogunha, Ongwe, Wahunwa Notkawe, Sieya Tatayon, Ganata Negwadi. Teo Tuetnuni. The order for today is, as usual, Longhouse, Marie-Claude, Edith, then Merrick, Elsa, Harold, and me.
Yunda. In the A and the T. The second T, yeah. Exa.
Wehnesto. Wehnesto.
And that's
Wehnesto. So I would break it at the end.
right after the WE, you mean?
Yeah, no, right there. Oh yeah, break it at the WE. Wehnesto. Okay. And then go on, or we can leave. Yunda da seto. That's okay. Exa ogun ohunzage. We don't have to change anything. I mean, we should know those words by now. Wehnesto goano. Yunda da seto. Exa ogun ohunzage.
Ernesto, Gowana, Yunda da Gazetto, Exa Agua Unzage.
Ernesto, Goana, Yonta, Tacito, Exa, Hunzak.
Whenesto, Juana, Yuntata Testo, Exa Ogun,
Wenesto, Goana, Yontatantesto, Exa Ugun'a, Ohuntsage.
When esto goana Utah tasendo hexagona unzage.
Ernesto, Gowana, Junta Taseto, Exa Agoa, Ohunzage.
Wenesto, Goana, Yonta, Taceto, Exa Ogunha, Ohunzage. Teo Tuetnuni.
You know, wait a minute. On the Yunda da Seto, put a one between the A and the S. Yunda da Seto.
Okay, ohunzage. Okay. Ya areko. We'll leave them. Ya areko. Garito. We'll leave it. It's police. Chehoti Gayun. At the N, yeah, N right there, yeah. Chehoti Gayun. Ya Unka. De Yunda.
Is it Tieyun? It means we're missing an N here. Tieyun.
Conviction. De Yun, yeah, put an N there.
Okay.
De Yunda Geno. Okay, ya arco garito. Chehoti Gayun. Ya Unka. De Yunda Geno.
Okay, wait a minute. I got a problem with that last word on the first line. Jehodi. Okay, put one between the J and the Hodi.
Okay, ya arco garito. Chehoti Gayun. Ya Unka. De Yunda Geno.
Ya article Garito Jehodi Gayun. Ya Unka Dayunda Denu.
Geno.
Genu.
Ya Argo, Garito, Tie, Odigayonho, Ya Unka, de Yonta, John.
Geno. De Yunda Geno.
Okay, you know what? You need a break between the N and the E. Yeah.
Okay, De Yunda Geno.
Ya Areko Garito Viejo de Gayon Ya Unca Teyunta Lleno.
Ya Areko, Carito, Taihuti Gayon, Ayonka, Deonta Jan.
They use the gen, je.
Teyunta Jen.
Okay, look, you got that, the, what you call it? It should be at J, the NEN should be together. J, J-I-E, move that apostrophe there. Because the NEN are together, yeah, they use the Jenna.
Ah, Jen. Jen. Okay, all right.
Dạ, dạ, anh ấy ngon, chả lấy đúng. Tiền, 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 Can you say that word again?
Ja, unka, they use the Jenna.
Teo ti cay uno.
They
Ya
use the,
ta teo lleno. Teo ta lleno.
okay.
Ya, areko. Garito. Tia hoti gayono. Ya onka. Teonta. Jetna.
Janet.
Okay. Ya alijo carito tío. Ya hoti gayon ya onka yunta jan
Jenna.
jeno.
Ya areko carito chehotigayon ya unka teyunta cheno. Teyotwetnuni.
Okay, before we move on from there, just wait, hang on. Just so that people know about, go back up where we could see that line. Okay, where people see garito and you see in English that it's police. That's what why it's you. But the reality is, of course, we never had police, so there's no word that translates direct across to police. What that is referencing is actually a tree. It's referencing the sticks that they had, the cops, batons. Guayaguero, can you expand on that, Garito?
Yeah, well, it was made out of the hardwood, ironwood. It's called garito. So that was what their sticks were made out of, hard oak, hardwood.
Yeah. So when you think of reference to police, when you have a perception in your head as to what police are, and then when you get that society clashing with a society that does not have the concept of police, because to have police implies that you have a lawless society, because you need police to police them, to apply law and uphold law. But within the great law of peace, there's nobody needed like that, because everybody knows the law. Everybody applies it and upholds it themselves. So you have a clash of cultures, a clash of understandings, of right and wrong. And so from our reference, we don't identify them as people of law or people who uphold law or people who protect you. No, our reference to them is of the weapon. That this is what the non-native doesn't understand. What the native people's see when they see a cop. They see a weapon that is always used against people. It's never used to enforce, not enforce, but like to say, protect those people.
Well,
Because
they have a word now for like for police, because they've always been working on what you said, and it's Yudenatanu na. Yudena, IONTE.
we're not going to buy into that.
Oh, wow, it's just what they use, though.
the corruptions that they want to present about themselves to try to legitimize their existence within us. We don't buy into that crap one bit. This is a clash of non-native European ideas. That's what police are. It's a corruption of the European. And so for our people to accept that or to start to make terms of references to accept it means that we undo our knowledge of law and we put ourselves at the same level as the non-native people in relation to law, where non-native people, you are not in control, you're not even a participant in the law that governs you, how it's applied to you, or you even interacting with it. It's non-existent for you. So for us, it's completely different existence in relation to law. So for us, you will never see the corruption of police. When you see police, when you go into native communities, of course, these are not native police. These are the system people who have adopted the white man's ways. And so those people, they may look native and they can steal native language to give references to themselves, to legitimize themselves, but they will never be legitimate because we are not gonna falsely label a corruption as something that has to do with law and protecting the people. We will never be that stupid. There are people who are attempting to inflict that stupidity upon our people and others. But if you fall into that, if you buy into those words, then you are not in a proper two-row wampum relationship. You are in a relationship with the ones who are laying down and dying peacefully. Okay, so
there's two people that raised their hand, Harold and Janet.
Okay, go ahead if you have something to say.
Go ahead, Harold.
I'll go. I just thank you kindly for going into Garito. I was actually had in my mind to ask about these Kanienkeha words around, police or more particularly I was interested in what the Kanienkeha words for investigation, charges, convictions, what those words might teach us about the indigenous modes of handling severe violations or hostile behaviors like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, well, as
we would use the word ayiri'uizage, and that's to look for the facts.
But even that, it's completely different when you're using the term, say from police, you use the term investigation. This is a completely on a completely private level where nobody is allowed access, where it's whoever is the investigator, one person, it's left to one person or else a team to then isolate outside of public scrutiny, to isolate the people that are involved and to address them individually, when that is not the proper way to do an investigation. That is a corrupted way. It's to isolate, to find out where the corruption is, and to actually exploit that corruption. That's the non-native system. But within our system, an investigation is not on that private level. It is completely public. Let's say if we heard that somebody's house got broken into today. Okay, due to the organization of the clan structure, then a clan meeting will be called, and that clan will send the information to the other clans. The other clans will immediately come together. There will be a meeting outside of that person's house, and everybody in the surrounding area by law must be present. Okay, so all the houses, let's say there's 4 houses around one house center. Everybody in each of those 4 houses would have to come out into the public arena and say who they seen, who was here, when was the last time they were here. It's not left for one person or the team to deal with, take that information and then try to decipher it later on. No, it's for everybody in the community, everyone who's affected by it, to be present immediately to weed out that corruption out of them. Because when police do investigations like this, like I said, it's designed to weed out the corruption, but not to get it out, to detect it, to exploit it. Because that's what the non-native system is of so-called judicial system. It's not a justice system. It's a criminal education system. That's what that is. It's like a siphon, like a screen, a person who's siphoning, or say like searching for gold. If the chunks of corruption come out, okay, then that's like on a different level, separate from society, because it's a different economy. It's a different way to make money off of the people. So investigations within there are, of course, kept behind closed doors, kept quiet, so that those things can be exploited, that you can have control of the criminals, that the criminals who are in the justice system then control their criminals, that they're not justice system, but through their criminal education system. So there's a big difference when, in the words that Wyagerta put there, that are covering the investigation, covering charges and even convictions. There's a big difference from what you know and just the direct translation right across, of course, does not do it justice. We have to expand on it. Okay, anyway, so I don't know if that answers your question enough there, Harold.
No, yes, thank you, Connie. It's exactly what I knew. There was something to be learned, probably still a lot more to be learned about the differences in language here. But also I wanted to mention too, it's very interesting, right, the perito, and then, you know, the newer words that they're coming up with, right? But I also wanted, you know, what era do you guys think that word comes from, where there was already this association with non-native police and hardwood?
I didn't get that last question.
What era do you think that this garito word comes from? It's an older word, but it's not naturally indigenous. Could tell us something about some of the first contact with non-native, battalions, right? Or violence, right?
Okay, there was a lot of noise going on there. I don't know who's making that noise. I don't know where that's coming from, but I had a hard time to hear you there.
Let me know if you could hear me better now. I was just wondering if yourself or Wyagerta might have an idea of what era the word garito comes from. Because it could tell us, some of the first contact with non-native violence, because although it's not, an old enough word to be matrilineal, it's right enough, old enough to tell us something about contact with non-natives.
Well, that garito, the stick and whole thing started from Pinkertons way back in the day. So they had guys with nightsticks, big ones, 6 foot, they beat the crap out of you. And I mean, that's just the way they did things. I mean, they haven't changed. As all people, look here, Ganawagi, who breaks into homes in Ganawagi? It ain't a white man, a black man, an Asian. It's natives breaking in on each other because the system works for them. So, it's somebody got to watch these people. I mean,
it doesn't fix them. It doesn't address that corruption. Like I said, it exploits them. So in the non-native world, as you know, a person who maybe when they're a teenager, maybe they'll, steal something out of a store, without them actually understanding it. They just see that thing, whatever, they like it and they think they'll take it. They'll know that they're stealing, but not really comprehending as to the level of crime that it is upon the society, the collective. This takes, of course, not a while for a person to become accustomed to, because of anybody who's down that path in the first place, they're corruption. They were nurtured that way by their parents, by their society. In the native world here, we don't have that type of thing. This kind of stuff is developing nowadays, but just like the question that you asked, when did we start to associate the word garito? This isn't of something like, say, hundreds of years, when you would think that when our first contact, there was a war club, and you might think war club, garito. No, it's a different terminology, a different application. So the only time that garito comes into the knowledge of the people is in about the last 150 years within all the native communities, because in Grand River, it started 150 years ago. Here in Kahnawake, this is something that the people don't realize. It only really got established in the 1970s. It was being, the groundwork for it was being done in the 60s. Anybody can think back, okay, who were in the ballot system here? Who were the mayor? Well, the first mayor, you go back, Andrew DeLille, Ronnie Kirby, and then it's Joe Norton. You know, there's not that many mayors that have existed here, because the system hasn't existed that long here in Kahnawake. Even the land privatization, the rest of the world knows land privatization forever. But for us, it's still only in the application mode, because there is still common land here being held, managed supposedly by the people. So there's a lot of things that are still right in the middle of a culture clash. This is why our people don't realize how stupid they are in accommodating the colonial genocide that's happening to our people by accommodating the fact that the genociders want to put nice words onto the things that they do. Like, they want to put nice words on the position of police when there is no nice word for that. That is a corruption. Even in the non-native world, it is a corruption. People today just want to accept it because, oh, you grew up in that and you've seen that, and you think cops, police are a natural state of evolution of humanity. No, it isn't. It's a result of the corruption of criminals running your systems. The only time you have to have police policing other people as to you enforcing law and how to apply it and how to relate to it is when you are in a lawless system. And the only system that would be lawless is a system run by criminals. Anyways, a lot more understandings that are, like we said, that will come from convictions, investigations. But all of these words, we got to be very careful along the way that we're not going to ourselves accommodate the genocide. We're going to keep the true meanings. We're not going to adopt what everybody else is adopting. So we're going to keep those true meanings and identify to the people that police, there is no good word to identify cops. There is no good word for that, because it is in fact a corruption. And just because some wannabe Mohawk person is gonna go to McGill University to get a PhD after their name, that they learn how to speak Mohawk, and then they put a twist in the terminology of police, that is not gonna legitimize it, and it's not gonna make it a new word. No, those corruptions are going to remain to be identified by us. and they are going to be remain. They're going to remain to be something that our people, that true people, do not adopt. Okay. Anyways, Janet, you had something also.
Yeah. Sego sewa puego. I just wanted to say something. It's just a reiteration to explain how the language is true to life. If you ask any of the old people when I was living with the Ojibwe, the way they identified the non-native man when he came here, the phrase is Chamukamani Kwe, and what that means is people or man with the long sword. And I seen my mother once or twice, and I asked. She told me something about this too also, and she said when they landed on the shores, they asked us who we were, and my mother said, the people said we're the human beings. And it made me think about the encroachment and, you know, the conquistadors and all that, and how they came up through the islands on over to the western part of the southwestern part of the North America, so-called. And, you know, they had these, you know, the armor on, tin, you know, iron, metal, whatever. And so, yeah, I just wanted to bring that point up. And yeah, the word garrido, to me, from as much as I do know, which I don't know very much, I would have to say that's an old word. In the native languages, they talk as they see it. You know, they don't prefabricate. The English language may be very creative, but there's a lot of deception in it, you know. And so, yeah, it is unfortunate that the language of the indigenous peoples are, you know, it's being corrupted, you know. So I just wanted to say that.
You know, it's subtle meanings, subtle understandings. Let's say, for instance, if we're going to talk about salt, and if we have an understanding about salt, let's say we have a few different understandings. Salt, whatever, you put it on food, but then too much salt, whatever, give you this illness. As an example, take away the knowledge that the salt will give you this illness. Then whenever you're referring to salt, now your association is no longer to an illness. It's just a thing that you put on your food and whatever else, you know, whatever other things anybody can come up with about salt. You know, there's good things about it. You can preserve food with it, preserve meats, but it also is bad for you. So, like I said, take away that part. Take it out of your bank of words, your bank of knowledge. There you have knowledge of salt, but it was connected to something knowing that it could do harm to you. Take that part away. Now, every time you're going to say salt, it's going to be a good thing. It's not going to have any bad references. So subtle changes in words, in the understandings over time could actually be detrimental to somebody's life. It could be detrimental to an entire people, an entire nation. It could have people compliant with corruption when they are giving reference to fairness and justice. It could link them to democracy. And then all of a sudden, what you think, fairness and justice, the people are under an oppression. They're under a dictatorship. Because don't forget, Hitler rose to power through democracy. All emperors rose to power through democracy. Democracy is, in fact, the root of all corruption within humanity. It
I know my internet is good. Sorry.
So these subtle changes, subtle differences that people want to make, no. We got to look back to the realities, like you said, Janet, of that. It was like, I forget your exact words, but it's a living thing. It's not something that we take out of a dictionary. We forgot a word and we go into the library 100 years later and we say, oh, here's the word. No, it's something that evolves with the people. The knowledge of it evolves with the people. So we don't bring corruptions such as police, such as what Harold, like what you said about what's the thing for investigation. Now, again, like we said, it's just a direct word right now for an immediate reference, but those words even have different, not different, deeper underlying meanings. Like you all know, that you can have a law book that could take you a couple hours to read, or you can live it over 26 days, morning till night. And therein, you see deeper meanings, you see deeper truths, deeper things revealed. Okay, anyways, where are we done right now? Yeah, article, we done now, right?
Canada, Negwadi, we'll keep those two. We won't break it down. Hisago, New Tunze, Hisago, let's see. Put a NA, another NA by the apostrophe. Hisago na new. At NON, between the T, Hisago na new. Dun, news, dun, again, TON. News, Desagonanu to news. Canada Neguadi Desagonanu to news. And then Yundada Seto. Yundada. Yundada Seto. Just take the TE off right away. Yago, yago. Okay, yeah. Take the ON out too.
This first one?
No, yeah, after the 8.
Yago, all right, and then the word for police, garito, I guess. Garito, space, garito. Oh, okay. There's more to it. All right. Ziyun doja. Ziyun. Ziyun ja dore. Ja. Ziyun ja dore dakwa. KHWA, okay. Owana Gora. That's it.
But you still don't have Garito there. You gotta put Garito on the last, second to the last line.
Yeah.
How it's written?
With an N.
And there's something we gotta change. Go up to the top line. See, this is where we'll be buying into. First off, they don't, everybody's gotta understand that so-called Canadians don't even themselves. They got no clue what Canada is, what it means, where it comes from, how they got that name. And so Canada is, of course, that's our name. It comes from us. It doesn't come from any other nation. You could actually isolate that Canada. Anybody can isolate that word to solely Kanienkeha. And so the meaning of that word does not do justice to what a so-called Canada or a so-called Canadian is. So they want to call themselves that, but actually Canada, that Wayagerdo, doesn't that mean like the village or where the people gather?
Yeah. Village.
Okay, so we cannot refer to them just as that. So the so-called part. Now, I don't know if you have the translation for that, but we can say the ones who call themselves Canada or Canadians.
Okay, you did not do quoi? ION. TA. Comma. Yundade, TE, TON, glottal, apostrophe. Oh, okay, take the apostrophe off and put an S, Yudadenados. Okay, Yudadenados, they call themselves.
Okay, so you see now in the future, that's a direct reference to so-called, because we got to understand what we're saying and how we're saying it. It's a derogatory term. It's something like to rub in somebody's face. Oh, you're the so-called police, the ones that come to clobber people over the head. Oh, you're the so-called government, the ones that are oppressing. So-called. It is a derogatory reference. And so now we have the proper terminology here to say those who call themselves or refer to themselves, because that means it's not other people who refer to them as that. It's only their perception of themselves. Very important to know when you're saying these words, what it actually means. In relation to Canadians. Okay, all right. We're ready to say it, right?
Okay, Yudadenados, Canada, Neguadi, Desagonanu Dunze, Desagonanu Dunyuze, Yudadaseto, Yagotundu, Carito. Yagotun, Carito.
Yudadenados, Canada, Neguadi, Desagonanu Dunyuze.
Desagonanu Dunyuze.
Desagonanu Dunyuze. Nuze. Okay, you need a one between the N and the S. Nuze. Desagonanu Dunyuze. Okay, Yuda Desedo, Yagodun, Carito.
Yudadenados, Canada de Neguadi, Desagonanu Dunyuze, Yudadaseto, Yagodun, Carito.
Yudadenados, Canada, Neguadi, Desagonanuntonionse, Yudadasedo, Yagodun, Garito.
Yontadenados, Canada Negatwi, Desagonanuntonionse, Yon tata seton. Yakontono carito.
Yung tatanatos, kanata denguati, tesagonano tununse. Yutarasegu, yutarasetu, yagutu, yagotu, jaritu.
Unto Tanatums, Ganada Neguati, Tasago Nanu, Tum, Yonse, Yontata, Setu, Yago, Tum, Peritu.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yundade nadons Canada nequadi de sagonano don de sagonanundo yonse. Yundade sedu yakodon on carido.
Yon tatenatus kanata neguati, te sakunanu tonyunse, yon tata septo, yagutunho garito. Te yotuetnuni.
Okay. Zijun, ja dore, dakwa. Just the way it is. Zijun ja dore dakwa, onoa, gora, kanajon. Okay. You da dun, I'll take the B out, put an N, you da dun ta. I-O-N-U da, at the H and the T, you da. You da dunta, you da dunta. Genie, T-S-I, T-S-I, not an O. Okay, Geniwe. Okay, what's the next word?
That's it.
That's the end, huh?
Oh, that's the end. Okay. Zijun ja dore ta. Zijun ja dore ta kwa. Ono gora. Ganajan. Yunda da dunta. Geniwe.
Zijun jador. Zijun jadore. Zijun doro. Jadore dakwa. Zijun jadore dakwa. Got a hard time. There's something there.
Zijun. Zijun ja dore. Zijun ja dore ta kwa.
Okay, okay. Zijun ja. Put yeah, ja. Dore dakwa. Dore. Zijun ja. Zijun ja dore. Zijun ja dore dakwa. Anu agora. Ganhada. Gonna jump. Okay, we need a break there. Gonna. I see what I'm seeing. Gonna jump. Okay. Gonna jump. Yon daroto. Yon daronto ta. Yunta. Yunta tunta. Okay.
You da dunta. You da dunta. Put it at the H.
Yeah.
You da dunta.
Yunta tunta. Ziniwe.
Chijonja dore dakwa, ono wangora, kanachan, yota tunta, ziniwe.
Sichon charo dore dakwa onua gora ganajan yonta tunta chiniwe.
Chichontia Doritaqua Ononungora Kananchan Kananchan yonta tonta tsiniwe.
Sinjota, Sinjota. Okay, I'm doing it. Sinjota, Toretagma, Onowagora, Kanaja.
Is
You,
it us?
huh?
You thought don't.
Kanaja, you,
Yeah, we're getting cut.
oh,
You thought don't talk.
I'll do it again. Siju, Siju, Ja, Toretagwa, Onowagora, Kanaja. Yunta, Yunta tua anyway.
You thought don't talk. Chiniwe.
Yunta tunda, no. Yunta tunda anyway.
Okay.
Chijunja dore dakwa onowa gora ganaja yonta tunta jiniwe.
Excellent.
Janet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jijunje dora dakwa onunwe gora ganacha yonta dunda. Wait. Yunta dunda. Yunda.
You thought don't talk. THA. You thought don't talk.
Yunta dunta. Could you say it one more time?
You thought don't talk.
Yunda dunta. Jiniwe.
Tichuntiatore d'acqua, onowagora, ganacha, yonta tunta, tiniwe. Teyotwetnuni.
Harold, you got a question?
Yes, thank you kindly. Again, I realized that there's some combinations of letters that we don't always see. I noticed that the dore, the TOREH, we don't necessarily see that too much. Or is that a particular word that pertains to?
Yeah, well, that's the courts. It just means a place you're judged. That's what it means. That's what a court is. You're judged. I think we all know that. They go there to judge. You don't hear it very often, but when you do, you'll notice it.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let's say somebody who's of this belief that at the end of your life, you're going to be judged or you're going to be whatever, looked at based on whatever you've done in your life. Could you say at that time,
well, if you believe you're a Christian, yeah, but I don't think so. When your time is time, and that's it. Here, they're trying to make it like, oh, you got a way out. Yeah, if you go to God and you say you're sorry, well, then what the fuck? You're still going to excuse me, but
hey,
you're dead. You're dead, and that's just the size of it, you know. So if you put Christianity in there, they just kind of lighten death. If there's such a thing.
What I'm looking at here is that their courts, we know, doesn't deal with justice. It's like you said, it's a way out. It's a way out, not into justice, but like, take for instance, somebody, let's use a real example. Okay, all those people that went to the Capitol building last January 6th in Washington, D.C. Okay, some people ended up making plea bargains. Now, you know that if you're looking at from a law perspective, you're looking at this person. If you broke 5 laws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Okay, then those 5 laws, you're guilty of it. You're going to be judged on that. But in the non-native system, they'll say, okay, plead guilty to this, and it's a lesser charge. Let's say, again, if there's 5 charges, plead guilty to 3 of them, and we'll drop the other 2, but you'll have to pay a fine. But when you plead guilty, it doesn't matter if other charges are dropped. How the legal system works is that it's looked at as a guilty plea to all the charges, even if you have a plea bargain. This is how they keep people on the string, how they keep people going through that revolving door of business in the courts. Every time a person goes through, cha-ching, 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 who's getting rich off of that? Think of it. There is a whole economy based on that corruption. When we were in court back in 1993, we found out that just for them to open the doors to the court, this was municipal court, was $5,000 each time. So you just think of that. That's not paying the judges, the prosecutor, and the whole economics, the corrupt economics that follows that. That's corruption. You know, anybody who's making their living off of that, that's a corrupt person. So we know that the courts have nothing to do with justice. It has fully to do with keeping people on a string, keeping them under your control. So this is the reason why I'm identifying that when people look at the courts, the non-native people, it's on the same level as when they're like how they look at themselves being judged through religions, that at the end of the day, they're going to be judged for this or that. This is the reason why the non-native judicial system is so much a living part of them. They don't realize that it comes from their religious beliefs, their religious systems. So people don't know why. If you're going based on law, if there's these 5 things, why would that person not have these 5 things? Why? Because their justice system, it's not a justice system, it's a religious system. And religion grants absolution to those that confess. Because if you confess, only the few know what you're confessing to, and they have you under their power forever. And that way you can then plead guilty to a lesser charge in their court, but they have you on a string after that. And everybody knows this is how, in fact, the non-native judicial system, or what they call judicial system, doesn't work. The reason why it breaks down, why you have people killing in the streets. Anyways, okay.
There's Mary too that raised his hand.
All right, Merrick.
Yeah, for that. And I'm wondering about how the word litigated translates into Kanienkeha.
If you litigated, you would say, Yategari Huayantan. Oh, no, Yategari Huayantan.
And what does that mean? What does that translate?
It just means that both sides have agreed that whatever so-and-so charge, both sides are giving a little bit, but you're still guilty.
Okay, but
charge, like you were saying, just a lesser charge. You just say agree on a lesser charge. You admit guilt, so you're already done.
okay, but litigated doesn't reference that part. Litigated means that the corruption, police, courts, lying politicians, Canadian genocide, that's litigated, meaning that it was passed through their council, meaning that their government. So in the way that you're identifying it, that's precisely if it's passed through the 2 sides, you know, litigated, but that's giving reference then to their system of governance, whatever is acknowledged as that system. So there, that litigated, it's not about what takes place in the court, the judgment. It's about what gives the power to corrupt police, courts, and lying politicians. That's litigated. It's where in their government they first passed these laws to make the Nazi concentration camp residential schools become law, making the RCMP have to go and kidnap children. Kidnapping, there, where you identified the word, kidnapping by the RCMP is litigated. So that's, yeah. So that word that you said, that you just utilized, can we go over that word again?
Yategari Hoyantan, IATE.
And what does that mean again?
Like you've Yatega, KA, apostrophe, RHI, WA, apostrophe, IEN, and then TAON, Dom. Yategari Hoyantan. That's both of you have agreed some part of your stance to the part of the stance of the law. You split the charge to make it less for both, but you're guilty, which is really the whole thing. They're not saying they're admitting any guilt.
Okay, again, that's the wrong reference. We're not talking about this part. Litigated doesn't have anything to do with once you're in court. It's got nothing to do there. Where litigated takes place is in their parliament, meaning they passed a law to make this corruption enforceable by the RCMP. So they're litigated, meaning it's on their level where they pass their laws. That means they passed the law making it legal for them to carry out genocide. So what reference would that be? What word would that?
Well, that's just outright murder. There's no legality. There's no talking about murder. Murder's murder. If you have to talk about it, that means it's allowed.
Exactly. This is what the non-native done. This is what we're trying to get to, is the fact that in so-called Canadian Parliament, but it doesn't begin and end there. They actually talked about it. Their politicians talked about kidnapping Native children. So like what you just said, it's crazy. It cannot be, but they're crazy. They are insane people, and insane people pass laws legitimizing their insanity according to their political system. So the word again that we need here to reference, or the words that we need to reference litigated, is to say Canadian genocide is passed as law through their government. That
Okay.
would be litigated.
Okay, eat it. Canadien, Kanatien, Canadien, Canadian. Canadien, Guyana, okay, KAIA. NE apostrophe RA SERA. Kaya narasra. That's it. Yudatun, that's to kill as we go. Chiniwa.
So when you hear that, of course, you won't hear this in any sane conversation. But if you hear that, those words, does it identify to you that somebody passed a law that you can kill people?
Well, all it says is whatever you did, you are guilty. You're guilty no matter what. Once they charge you with it, you're guilty, and
Okay,
they won't let you out of it.
okay, but I'm not asking that. I'm asking for you to hear these words the way that you arranged it. Do you understand in your mind that this means that crazy people passed a law to kill people?
Well, just the idea of genocide is crazy. You don't have to put crazy in brackets. That tells you everything. You're a nutcase. And we're following you, or we're forced to follow you. We have a system that says you have to follow it. So,
Okay, so keep the litigated as the main word and put the rest in brackets. Because all of that means litigated. Here, I think we just broke through an understanding here about comparisons of our processes. You know, like how we would pass something through council and how they would. And here we can see clearly in great law of peace, where there's constitution, that people don't vote on how they feel about something. They just quite simply base it on, is it legal? So if it's legal, then yes, it flies. If it's not legal, it doesn't fly. But in the non-native world, you look at things that are passed in their government systems, those are things that are not legal. They pass things in their corrupted governments, such as atomic bombs, atomic weapons, such as kidnapping children. So here you can start to see that we did not yet break through the ground yet, where we have to break through to really get the non-native world to understand the corruption of which they are. They are a living corruption. Now, this is collectively the non-native people. Now, you as a non-native person, whoever it may be, you may get the sense right now, I'm saying this of you. No, it's not of you, it's of the collective of you. Now, this is where it comes down to the you having the decision to be a part of a corrupted collective, or to acknowledge the collective is corrupted and then to separate, to isolate that corruption, to put it out of human conduct. But this just does not exist in the non-native world. You actually have no way of weeding out corruptions from your society, because your courts, which is now deciding everything for you. So imagine, even democracy has made it so that any issue that you got is decided in courts. How is that? It's not decided by humans. It's not even decided by the politicians that the humans decide to put in place to make decisions. It's made by a court. Now, those courts pass things such as this, what we're seeing here, the text that we just done tonight. The non-native courts actually passed laws making it legal for the police, the RCMP, the rapists, criminals, murderers, and pedophiles to kidnap native children and to kill the native fathers that put up any resistance. And if they didn't kill them, to clobber them over their heads with their garito and then criminalize them. So your courts make criminals. Your political system first off, grants you the right to do crimes that are by any other standard, do things that any other standard are crimes. Just because democracy says that 51 people get together and say rape is not legal, does not make it legal. You're going to start to see the difference between law and lawlessness, because the knowledge of the Kanienkeha, it isn't just the language. Again, it's the sentiment, because the language identifies the thoughts, the sentiments, the identity of which one is living. The deeper, the more that we get into this, and especially the more that we go into this coming year and get into the ninth moon, when we are in actual law recital, you're going to start to see yourself as like a rift, like a definite division between you and the rest of what's referred to as humanity. Anyways, okay, we covered a big issue here tonight. What time is it?
8:35.
8:35. A bit hungry. We didn't eat, and Edith's got an early start too. So I think we're going to call it a night, if that's okay with everybody, unless there's any dispute with this right now.
That would go, everybody.
Okay, we're going to call it a night. So this means that this is where Wyatt. What happened?
I stopped the screen.
This is where Wyatt Garrett is going to read all the text out, so everybody knows. Keep your stuff on quiet time.
What is it?
I'm going too fast.
Okay. That on.
Go ahead.
Jotiadu kokte exa ogoa wahunwe wahuana gatwe wahuanot gatwe. Countless native children dug up in mass unmarked graves. Gia tatayum ganada neguadi. We next to Goana Yudadasetu across the so-called Canada, making it the largest mass grave murder. Exoguaon Zagit, sight of the children of the world. Ya arako garitu chepodi gaonyo. To this date, police had not looked, zero looked into it. Yahuka de Yundajena, nobody was convicted. Yudadenados Canada Naguadi, the Sagonanu News, the so-called child raping murderers, Yudadasetu, Yagosetu, Garito, emboldened through the whatever that word is, police. Tijujatoretaco, Ono Agora, the courts of the lying politicians. Ganajon, Guyana Rasara, Yuna Datunta, Jinyowe. Canadian genocide is litigated, passed through law through their government.
Okay, there's something missing. Go up, I'll tell you when to stop. Okay, right there. Okay, no one has been charged of a crime.
Well, Yam Kadim Dajenas, no one has been arrested.
Okay, but okay, there's three. There's a different isolations here. No charges, no convictions. Okay, no charges is first off. This is if we're in council. I stand up or somebody stands up and accuses me of something. And then if it's found out to be true, then it's affirmed, I'm convicted. Law is applied to me. So first, the accusation is the charge. Is there an accusation in there? Ya onka.
Yeah, Yonka de Indigena means nobody was arrested, which means there's no charges.
Okay, that's what I'm saying though, but there's a separation there. No one is accused.
Okay, then you just put would, yeah, IAH by itself. De yun da de di honto. De yun da de di honto. W-E-N-H, W-E-N-H. 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 Okay, de yun da de di honto. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, de yun da de di honto. No charges. Yeah, de yun da de di honto. So, de yun da de di. De yun da de di honto. The H and the T. You da de di honto. Yeah, de yun da de di honto. Okay.
Okay, and then de yun da done Jana. De yun da Jana. Put that on the next line solely with no convictions. And you got to put a yuck in front of it. Okay, and there's something else connecting it to the line above. Can you go down a bit so we can see the line above? Okay, wait a minute. To this date, there are 0 police investigations. See, that's got to be up on that line. Okay, just the Kanienkeha part there. Yeah, article, Garito, Jehodi Gayon.
They didn't investigate. The police have not investigated.
Okay, they didn't investigate. Yeah, it goes up there. Yeah. They own that dirty walk to, no charges. And then the next one, no convictions. Yeah, okay, that's fixed. Okay. Only thing is then to close, if like we said, if it's okay with everybody, we're gonna cut it short a little bit early tonight. Just to do the closing. Where did we leave off? Who did the closing? Okay, Edith, your turn.
But it's not been a long time that I did it too. No,
I don't know.
yeah, it feels like I did it not a long time ago.
Well, maybe that's because you're always doing it, like for all the Zooms, but in this, so you may as well just do it.
Yeah. Gatsanuni, Aguego, Skatne, Kanienkeha, learning. I always forget that word. Editid sista soko aksotan da jesque panchita, legan aksotan da jesque salsa, zapotecnia hunsage, mexican wanderista, yanata yuni and kinostadista, and toharage ganosesne, Kanienkeha ganawage, no wisni hunsage, no wanagaga. Itinurado karong wagarunya gesso, yung kisota Santa Nakagaragua, yung kinista ni Hunsage, Tanaguego, Tukundong Etzerat Kawats, Taranyawago, Tanusa Whiskera, Tini, Ganya Taragero, Aguego, Ununkwa Sua, Owide Sua, Patinua Sua, Katsa Sua, Watsita Nabu, Aguego Lidio, Honest as a Herana Osera. Yadiñasto, Yunatahuni, lo discarewage, Yagun se de Ganawida, Wagodiane, Rodiane, Neyohio, Ganikurio, Ganavandawana, Enra Saragoa, Tegini de Yohade, Ayonkiatagen Hadandawaran, Hetzeran, Ganarun Quatsarawana, Orihuio, Skana, Gasastansara, Gariwa Warishunsara, Gasastansara, Negunue, the Nogandawana, Gasastansara, Runue, the Noawe. Kawatsire dano we katsang haya dano no gaten eres awet eres awet eres awet kanya so manikura.
Okay, everybody, now we'll go. Know that this was a hard class tonight. Maybe not hard as far as the words go, but as far as the meanings go. The understanding, it's addressing a terrible thing that is not imagined, a terrible thing that actually did happen. Now, in the sorting out of things, in the judge. So everybody, now we'll go up. It was a rough class. We'll see you later. Autumn.